essa captação de parceiros, essa criação de uma rede.
Looking for partners and building a network to potentialize this green economy in the Amazon, a sustainable green economy, and strengthening governance to face deforestation and wildfires and forest fires, strengthening our business. Last year, we had a room next to Hub Brazil, next to the social organizations. That was the first time that we had a room for meetings. You can imagine a very strong agenda of bilateral meetings, and the governors, the collective of the 9 states with a lot of different programs and innovations, needing a space to share not only with the world, with Brazil, but with the world, what is happening in the Amazon, what is happening in the biome, the opportunities, the challenges, and our movement to enter the carbon market, to enter the opportunities of climate finance. So, this is a series of demands and opportunities that we identified and that justify the creation of the space. And now, thanks to this support, we would like to thank Amazon, IPAM, GIZ, BEAR, the International Cooperation, FundBio, the UN, WRI, Brazil, Embrapa, with a lot of technology in this low and medium carbon. I would like to thank all the partners and so many other partners like the federal government, Itamaraty, that have worked with us to guarantee that the governors have this space and can participate in such an important debate to make sure that the Amazon has its voice. In this panel, we're going to share a little bit of what is happening in Amapá, this new green economy of Amapá. We're going to have the opportunity to talk about the initiatives in this consortium. But in this session, this Friday morning, we're going to share this room, this space to talk about important initiatives in Amapá. Some points are accounting, they are the provision of results, so that the partners could see that investing in Amapá is worth it, so that they can see that the population of Amapá and the partners of Amapá are prepared, and some projects to which we are inviting new partners so that we can advance more and more in this new green economy that are being built in the state of Amapá. I would also like to thank the strategy of the consortium that is being made available on YouTube. People from Brazil are still sleeping, but when they wake up, they will be able to follow on the networks, on the social media. The state of Amapá is one of the main partners that we have been experiencing, and one of their main partners is BNDES. We have President Cotizan, the whole team of BNDES. We had great challenges, and these challenges felt impossible. It is a state-owned energy company. It was still the only one that was state-owned, and by option, all of the other ones were privatized. Amapá was the only one that was state-owned in a state that had no energy security, in a state that had the biggest blackout in the country. There were 25 days without electrical energy. And if we didn't have partners like the National Development Bank, like BNDES, we wouldn't be able to streamline this operation to protect the states. There was a debt of 13 billion reais. We have a GDP of a little more than 20 billion. We would Amapá needed, for example, essential activities like public security, education, the initiatives of the environment themselves. One of the structuring projects that we have today is BNDES. A lot of people are studying this partnership for the area of sanitation as well.
Da expertise
And I would like to share the experience of the engagement and the excellence of this team that goes from the structuring of the contracts and their technical expertise in other opportunities that were developed with the Department of the Environment. Their history is very important. In public administration, we have the rounds of sanitation in Rio, Alagoas, Amapá. Several states had the success of many authorization with our resources, investments in infrastructure, the improvement of a population's quality of life. They've had experience with great restructuring, and this is actually a bank that has lots of experience. We had an auction for sanitation with international rounds. Thanks to the help of BNDES, we participated in international events. That was an interesting round, international consortium, international groups, something never before seen for Amapá. And that would be something very difficult for a state with the level of maturity that Amapá has. It is a state that is 30 years old. This is a very young state with a very small economy. The state still does not have 1 million residents, and the state needed a very important partner to structure a project like that. And BNDES helped very much. There is something very important that we have heard in COP, which is trust. To demonstrate how the state of Amapá and the states in the Amazon have credibility and trust to participate in projects of this size. This project moved 4.8 billion and the energy project moved 3 billion. This shows the ambition that the Amazon has of transformation. I'm not going to go into detail on all of this. This is going to be made available to you, but this has to do with governance. This table here is the summary of the governance of our project, just for you to have an idea of how the states are organizing and how we are prepared. Indeed, there is governance, appropriate governance at an international level for us to work with any project, including international fundraising in carbon credits due to the level that we've achieved for projects of this kind. We have the leadership committee with the secretaries, representatives of ministry at a federal level, Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Economy, Secretary of Planning, governor's office, the superintendents, BNDS, and we have included the executive as well, which is the people who make things work on the daily basis. We have the management of the project, the ones that work with the consultants on a daily basis. They have open doors as well. The specific contacts. We have, in some cases, the participation of the Court of Auditors, the House of Representatives. We had the participation of ANEL, the National Energy Company, the stock market, auditors of projects, Economy Council. We have a very strong governance. We have legal, technical, operational committees. That is a very big structure
Players participaram, Grupo
for us
Equatorial,
to attract players like the Equatorial Group bidding 800 million or 1 billion. It is necessary to demonstrate governance and reliability, and we did this. These are outcomes. These are delivered outcomes. These are not promises. These are the two auctions carried out last year. The first contract was signed in November. The second one was signed in December, and both of them are already under execution. The electrical energy started last year. It is already in 7 states. And in the case of sanitation, we had an assisted operation in the first semester, and the group took over now in the half of the year. This is a photo of sanitation in Amapá, but this is the average of the Amazon, and it's way below the national average, which reinforces the importance of the sanitation agenda in the Amazon, the importance of finding solutions to structure this. In the case of water, we had a coverage of almost 40% of the population, a loss of 70%. You can imagine what this means. This means waste in water, waste of water with habitational deficits. Most of the population did not have drinkable water, and when they do, they have a lot of waste. And for sanitation, we didn't have 10% of sewage coverage. Brazil has little less than 40% of sewage coverage, and in the Amazon, this number doesn't reach 10%. This is a project that changes completely the water quality. We're talking about the case of Amapá, which is the mouth of the Amazon River. So where this sewage is going to? It is going to the estuary of the biggest river in the world, responsible for the biggest biodiversity in the world. So what BNDES has to do with COP? It has a lot to do, everything to do with COP. That is why we have the space of the federal government that is right next to ours, that is also talking about this agenda. We were able then to conclude this project that is going to be universalized in the 6 municipalities in up to 11 years. In the first 10 years, we're going to have a great evolution in universalization of the water and sewage. In 17 years, we're going to have over 70% of sewage system. We're going to get to 2030, which is the year when the SDGs are going to be reviewed as a state of excellence. It's a state where we're going to be much further than the national average. This is the singularity that we had in this project. Amapá was the first state to do this way. The banks and the partners, they structure the modeling themselves to where it is economically viable, which would be in the capital and metropolitan regions. Two municipalities were going to be assisted, and the other 14 would be out of the initiative. In 2030, we will have a little more than 7% of municipalities with sewage and sanitation systems. But we included all of the municipalities. That was a very hard work. It took longer for the project, but we left no one behind. And that was the great gain. The other great gain was our concern with the population of Amapá. In Amapá, we have a population where more than 50% of them are under the poverty line. So I cannot raise the value, raise the price for the fees that are charged for water and sewage. The first auction that we did, the winner was chosen according to the company that would charge the cheaper fee. The bidders would be chosen first of all according to the one that will give the highest discount. They would have to invest 3 billion in the next 10 years, so I would have to guarantee a fee so that the concession contract would be feasible for them. But the population of Amapá, whose half are under the line of poverty, I had to think if they would be able to pay for that fee. So 14 bidders provided a 20% discount. And today we have a reference fee in the state of Amapá, which is way below the national average, especially when we consider what we call a social tariff. It's a residential fee. The social residential fee is one of the lowest ones in Brazil. That is something very important that we were able to do. And what that generated, what does it have to do with COP? There's a lot of people asking me. This sanitation project is transversal and it has to do with a lot of SDGs from UN. We are talking here about education, health, business environment, generation of employment and income. We're talking about a generation of decent jobs and fighting against hunger. The state was a champion of unemployment because of the collapse of mining, because of the collapse of land regularization. There's a Senate that says that the state is one of the Palestines in Brazil. And we are very close to advancing and finding a new level. It used to have a very crystallized economy because of the lack of land regularization, and that would forbid the state from accessing credit, accessing the Safra plan, and that project only in sanitation, it will generate in indirect benefits over 23 billion without considering the direct investments. So we have 4.8 billion indirect investments in 100% coverage in 16 municipalities, a creation of an investment fund of 6.3 billion that the state is going to choose where it's going to invest, and the idea is to invest in water and sewage in places that are not covered by this project. Those riverside companies that are not covered by the concession. When universalizing, for example, isolated systems in settlements or in riverside communities outside of the municipalities that are covered under the concession. And we also have, in terms of economic movement, measured by BNDES, a movement of 6.3 billion in economy, an improvement of the the economic business. We built a building in Amapá to have an isolated sewage treatment, and I have to go to SEMA, the water company of Amapá, to ask for water authorization. That makes the funding more expensive. Caixa Econômica, the National Bank, has trouble approving loans and financial assistance for Amapá. But this is going to improve the real estate appreciation. And we also have the social issue, which is very important, starting with the SDG, reduction of diseases and childhood mortality. If we look at the main diseases in the communities, especially which are located in Amapá, it has a lot to do with the lack of treated water and sewage. It has to do also with the delay between the age and the school group. This is a project that in the area of health and education, we're going to not spend with this delay and spend with other areas that are not assisted today. Reduction of school delay, so the student will not fail their classes anymore, and we are going to be able to spend it in other faulty areas. We have two topics that are very approached here at COP that has to do with this new green economy, this low carbon economy, which are solid waste. This is a never before seen modeling. First time that BNDES is going to do this modeling, but we have always done it for cities with landfills, for metropolitan cities, and the smaller cities, smaller towns are never receive this kind of modeling. But in the state of Amapá, we can never leave anyone behind. 17 cities are going to receive the BNDES teams. We're going to divide the teams in 4 different sub-teams. We're going to go to the northern region, Oiapoque. We know that it's difficult to access the lakes region in the center of the state. And we're going to the metropolitan region like Macapá, Santana. The idea is to have 4 blocks, and the idea also is adding technology. We will not think only about collection of this garbage. Now it's not only about doing the collection, because most of this garbage is discarded on the ground. This is a reality in Amazon as a whole, and this is another agenda that we're willing to share and to build together. The idea is to think about not only this modeling, but creating a concession of waste management. I'm not talking about garbage anymore. I'm talking about inputs, generation of energy, biodiversity. We have that organic uh, garbage that can generate energy or be recycled. I'm going to think about a new economic segment. Today, Amapá recycles 5% of its garbage. Look at how much garbage is going towards the environment. In this new green economy, this is going to generate a lot of jobs, especially for the poor communities, and this is going to generate opportunities for my economy. Today, the acai berry pit is a problem. People know that people today stir acai and they throw the acai pit in the river. This is something that probably can generate energy, they can generate other products. The fishing chain in the Oiapoque region. This acai pit may be fish food or something else. So there are many opportunities and all profiles are going to generate different projects, and these different projects will be structured in this new profile, this new modeling. And the other one that we've already discussed here during the COP. I'm going to move these chairs so that you can see. It is a modeling of forest concession. We have lots of interesting projects. All projects in the Amazon have forest concessions. If done with responsibility, this generates income and employment, but this design is innovative, and BNDES is going to try to create this new concept. We have Sematoca exporting to 40 countries. It is an industrial project with environmental governance, but today we are meeting with the partner and thinking about verticalization. Today we have, for example, people who work in settlements. They don't have legal lumber to build their homes, and there's a concessionaire exporting wood for 40 countries. So I'm thinking, first of all, not thinking about wood, thinking about forest assets that are lumber or non-lumber. So I'm going to think about forest handling, extractivism, agroforest systems, community forest handling, or community forest management. And a part of this production can also remain with the community so that they can build bridges and build houses. The modeling of environmental services. This is a discussion that we have with the federal government and with the environmental ministry so that these populations can provide environmental services to generate more income, also for the public administration. The state will have a share here to fund public policies through this concession. A part of this environmental service can be returned to the environmental department for the promotion of bioeconomy and to strengthen the territorial governance, the development of the communities, and the local verticalization. The idea is to have a part of this production remain in the location so that we can fight against the illegal lumber. There are great concessions that streamline the national and international trade of lumber. And right next to cutting this lumber, you have a settlement where you cannot cut a tree. This is an innovative project. We are working with BNDES with 600,000 hectares. The state of Amapá received this year over 1 million hectares in glebas from the federal government. From these glebas, 6,000 hectares are from eligible forests. And then we're going to work on this innovative concession. This is a very interesting project. COP itself is going to have some interesting agendas on this topic. The last project that we have with BNDES is Project Raízes, which is a partnership between INCRA and BNDES. They mapped 80 federal settlements. We have to acknowledge that the model, the way that it is there, will hardly stand still. The reality of most of these settlements is they receive 50,000 reais, they receive the land, they don't have water, they don't have logistics, they don't have sanitation, so this is unviable. They have their name on a benefit list. They take 10 years to receive the deeds for their land. The federal and state settlement in the Amazon are bioeconomy.
Here in Amapá, we are in the middle of the forest. So many times we have these transition zones between the forest and the cerrado, the forest and the flooded lands. So it's a way for us to promote the economy. Since the Development Bank has credit operations, we have this credibility of launching a pilot. So BNDES and INCRA has launched that, and 4 of the settlements are in Amapá, and we are working in this pilot project with them. Something unprecedented. So we have launched the the calls with the Sustainable Amazon Foundation, EPEA, the state entities, and Embrapa is with us. So many different institutions, because no institution in Brazil, when we had the workshops, had all the expertise. This is to have all the skills needed. The project is involving education, sanitation, energy, fostering logistics. So the idea is that the National Development Bank can work with community uh, sustainable management, with the social infrastructure, improving education for the children and adolescents can be trained for the productive chains. And we have 4 selected settlements which are very different. Some of them are with people working with the manioc farming, with this integrated production product, with cultures that complement each other. We have bean, manioc, corn. We also have the forest with cocoa management, shrimp farms. We have more forest settlements. So each settlement has a different reality, and each settlement will have its reality incorporated in the specific strategy. So the the school in one settlement is going to be different from the other settlement in terms of curricula, strategy. So BNDES is also working with different partners to buy this production. So what's the idea? It's not only generating, but sometimes the state is there fostering the activities, providing seeds. The farmer is going to plant, and where is the farmer going to send? Sometimes the state makes available a truck for them to sell in the fair, and sometimes the money is not enough, and sometimes they have to sell with this very low prices. So there's no decent life. And the idea is to promote an inclusion, social inclusion, and increasing this low carbon economy. So we have Carrefour network with an Atacadão network who are available to buy the flour produced there, the honey produced there. So INCRA will prioritize the land regulation with different settlements, with the occupational inspection, the issuing of different deeds, so that these populations can receive the support, but also can access the public policies to access credit and many different policies that are not accessible in the Amazon because we don't have the regularized settlements. And we have Google as a partner, for instance, that have the satellite monitoring. We have some local and national networks who are studying this issue as well. And the state is going to maintain the roads and also supporting the georeferencing. We have a support with the army, so they provide the different geolocation we need, and they have the georeference of different lots for us to provide the settlements. And the funding issue that is in this integrated program that is working with different associations, promoting this cooperativism for for different chains. And that has a direct link with the legal Amazon consortium. It's an example of uh, for this program of bioeconomy being structured in the legal Amazon. The bioeconomy has three big components. One component, and we're going to launch that soon, so I won't give many spoilers, but the first component is this structuring of bioeconomy according to WRI classification, because we speak about bioeconomy, but different people understand in different ways. So we have to be on the same page. Bioeconomy is a very specific concept. If we want to capture, if we want to show to the world that we have bioeconomy in the Amazon, if we want to certify and enter international markets, we cannot say that bioeconomy is anything that is respecting the legal uh, reserve. So we have the bioeconomy structuring the bioeconomy plans, and the legal Amazon consortium is going to work with that, with the partners, with this innovation component. And we're going to talk to our secretary of science and technology that is connected to innovation and other partners. And the third component is the uh, low carbon farming. That is a program that has been advancing. Last year, the governors committed to apply 100 million in this agenda, and we are going to invest more than that. Amapá has invested more than 20, for instance, and the minimum was 12. So we are going to achieve a much higher goal. And I'm sure that the governors are going to deliver much more. So the accountability at the end of next year is going to be very impacting. And so what do we have in terms of figures that came from this movement? This is a 10-year chart concerning employment in Amapá. So we had the mining, and so we had the mining working with a lot of jobs. So the mining stopped, and we don't have more jobs. So that's how it works. So Amapá was a leader in this unemployment ranking because we depended in mining. But even with no mining, the operation is not back. We are discussing, there are mining companies who are stopping their operation. We've migrated. If we go back, that's okay. With all the governance needed, that's okay. But Amapá wants a new economy. Amapá doesn't want to rely on that. We want to think about settlements, about bioeconomy. So today, this year, we are leading in terms of proportional employment generation. We have 28% in average of job creation. We are a very poor state, but we have a population that is below the poverty line, but half of the population is below the poverty line, but we are now closer to the average, the national average, that is 14%. So there are more people being employed with income, with a decent life and sustainable support. So we are connected to SDG 1, 8, and 9 with these projects. So for us to wrap up this presentation, I'm going to invite you to this new project that is called Amapark. It's a project that is rethinking this issue of uh, the 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 basin region of the Amazon, with all the diversity in terms of the life in the rivers and the sea life. I'm talking about the different mangues, which are our swamps, and I'm talking about blue carbon. And the Amazon is not working with that in its mangrove groves, in this consortium and in block. So Amapaki is promoting that. And this project is being structured for the metropolitan region in Macapá and Santana, where most of our population is concentrated. And we are talking about life and water, and we are living over water in a regular way. We in a irregular way, with no sanitation, with no garbage collection, in a disordered way. So I'm going to show you the occupation in the area and why this is critical for the Amazon. So this is the map. As I've told you, we have a little more than 1 million inhabitants. These two municipalities are concentrating 90% of the population. At, uh, and we are located at the mouth of the Amazon. And this area we call the basin of the Fortaleza Igarapé, connected to the Amazon River. It's the mouth of the Amazon River. So we hope to have restaurants and a real reality there for this coast, which is so beautiful in Amapá. It's a project that is based on this restoration decade from the UN. So we've been talking about that. Some speakers have told us we've been diagnosing for 10 years to understand what we knew, uh, that we are in an emergency. So we need to act now. And the project foresees the approach in the main city, the main metropolitan region in the state of Amapá. The idea is to have this Ramsar approach. We have some Ramsar sites in Brazil, so we are thinking about this Ramsar uh, city, and the idea is to preserve the wetlands. 50% of the wetlands disappeared between 1970 and 2021. So if we don't do anything, within 10 years, we won't have the wetlands. So this is a little bit of the reality we face today and what we want to do. This is the migration from this reality to this reality. It's a bold project. It's a project which we've been working for 2 years. We've been studying a lot. We have 200 people involved, 25 teams, a lot of work with environment, infrastructure, planning, public prosecutor's office, all the governance for us to have this kind of hiring for such a project. But this project is willing to incorporate the solutions in the nature so that we can have a more sustainable city. So we should have green infrastructure. So what's happening in Amapá, in the Amazon, and in the planet? The population has this culture of living close to the water. Imagine if you don't have uh, a drinkable water, if you don't have sewage, what's going to happen? You're going to invade the wetlands, the, that which is the, the, the cradle of this biodiversity. It's the nursery. So in 2004, we had no occupations. In 2013, the city was here, and then we started to grow. There was nothing here, no houses. 10 years later, the space was occupied, and the North region has a population growth which is uh, above the national average, because the vulnerable populations, they grow more than the average population. So we started occupying the wetlands in 2013. In 2017, look what happened to the wetlands. It was a boom, and in 2020, this is this is consolidated. You have asphalt, you have concrete bridges, you have energy, you have cars driving there. So this area, for instance, I am not able to remove the population anymore. Forget about that. We cannot have a housing program and dream that we are going to remove this population from here. Maybe there are schools inside. So the idea is to build this belt with this macro and micro draining and regularize, and that will become part of the city. There's nothing else to do. The idea is to recover and stop the growth. I have to have a strategy to contain that. The population must understand that this is biodiversity, that I am in front of the greatest mouth of in the world, mouth of a river in the world, and this is important for the quality of their lives, of their children, their grandchildren. So this project of social education, of sustainability, is key and urgent. We have some complex projects, and we are going to have the public hearings until the end of the year to present this project of an eco museum. We are going to have these belts. So we have, you're going to have bike lanes and filtered garden with this technology by Phytorestore, which is a specialized company for building Ramsar sites with technology based on nature. And the idea is to have this belt around this area that has 6,500 hectares. It's this urban site, this city that we are proposing to build. So we have some strategy house lights, and we are going to use the base of the house light for restaurants, for public safety. And each one of these house lights lighthouse are being discussed, and we have them in on dry land and on wetlands in this belt with 6,500 hectares. So it's a very interesting uh, project, and we want a lighthouse. We want to build this lighthouse at the this first lighthouse before the end of the year. So this is a little bit of the project that we are going to build in the neighborhood called Lagoa dos Índios. We have this co-living space with multi-use fields. We have a corridor here, and it's a underwater corridor. So there's a panel here for us to observe the water during the 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 season when the river is full. And this area is used by the community to fish, to dive, and it's within the city. So during the dry time, it will become a field, but during the full time, they can even navigate. But unfortunately, I'm able to fish here, but the water is contaminated. It's bringing sewage, garbage from all these regions. So this idea of integrating the project and the concession of sanitation with this park, with this Ramsar site, is to preserve this wetland, preserve this estuary in a sustainable way, and recover and improve the population in this area, the quality living, for them to understand that we should protect this water.
It's not only good for the environment, it's good for the people. So a little bit about our strategy. We are in an advanced phase, including our brand, including what we want to communicate. We are launching here in the COP the brand, Aline, the representative of the future brands, could not arrive on time, but she's going to be here with us. She's going to bring a VR so that you can walk around the park. You can walk around the virtual park and get to know a little more about this project. I ended up not talking about it in the previous slide, but these are 2 years of work, 200 people, 25 teams for 700,000 residents. And our estimate of carbon generation is $70 million in carbon credits. So this is a project that we want to discuss with the partners here. We want to discuss how we can make this partnership to measure this project in a methodology that is more correct for the market, but this is a project that has a lot of aptitude for the generation of carbon credits. And why are we bringing this project here for this consortium space? Because this is a project for us to replicate to the whole Amazon. The whole Amazon has humid areas settled irregularly. This is a very interesting space that could be discussed for us to create a great block and a whole basin of the Amazon River. A little bit about the structure. The nature-based cities, we discussed a lot about the technology, the nature-based technology with the TNC, protecting the fauna and the flora and the biodiversity. Water is the basis of everything, and we need this to be respected. We need this to be iconic and acknowledged. I wrap up here, and I'm at your disposal for questions, suggestions, criticism. invitations to partnership. I see a lot of partners of ours here, and I am at your disposal for any invitations, and so that we can replicate this project in the Amazon. This adds a lot to the diversity that we live here in the biome. So thank you very much and have a great COP.
Tranquilo? Uma foto? Então, bora. Vamos tirar uma foto.